All right, so welcome back to the Habitual Thinker. We have a very special episode today. I have a special guest, Jelan, my homegirl, my friend. We've known each other for a while.
Yes.
I can kind of go on and talk about her accolades, TEDx speaker, therapist, public speaking consultant. I'm gonna let her introduce herself and talk about, where she's at with her career, and we'll just pick the conversation up there. Good.
All
Thanks
right.
for coming on, and
Thank you.
let you introduce yourself.
So let me tell you who I am.
Okay.
My name is Jelan Agnew. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I am a motivational speaker, a coach, a facilitator. I did a TEDx talk in LA about a year and a half ago. I'm at 23,000 views.
Okay.
I talked about mental health in the Black community. I am also Hartford Business Journal's 40 Under 40 and Connecticut Magazine's 40 Under 40. And I shifted from being a therapist into being a coach and a public speaker. And we'll talk more about what that journey looked like.
That's a lot. I see. I knew I wouldn't do it justice. Again, appreciate you coming onto the platform. Let's just jump right in. All the things you've done. I know for a while you were a therapist. Like, was that always like your career aspiration? And kind of talk me through how you got there.
No. My mother was a social worker. I promised myself I would never be a social worker. And then it happened where I graduated and a job was available and I was good at it.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit more about Black women specifically and when we're good at something and how sometimes we chase that or we follow that because we feel that we're responsible for that role. So I was in the social work therapy role for about 19 years. And I loved it. I love every one of my clients. I love being in the field. I've done in-home, intensive outpatient, school, rehab, you name it, I've done it. But it is something that I kind of fell into, I was good at, and I stayed in it for years because I was good at it.
Okay, so I want to go back real quick. You said you didn't want to. You didn't want to get into it? What made you say you didn't want to get into it?
I saw my mom and I saw a lot of people in the field. It's hard work. It's thankless work. And with social work, you're fighting the system, right? And what we know about the system is the system is the system. It was created before we were born. It'll exist after we die. So you're working and trying to put out fires all the time. Doesn't leave a lot of space for kind of taking care of yourself and tending to the things that really matter. So what I saw was a lot of social workers be burnt out and do a lot of work all the time. And I said I would never put myself in that position. And then I did.
So for what it sounds like is that it was a stress that you saw maybe your mother deal with that you decided I didn't really want that. When you're in school and like, I guess getting to the point where I got to look for a job, like,
Yeah.
Did you go that route because it was easy or because you kind of had an in or?
I went to Temple University and I did a degree in African American Studies. When I got out, I got my first social work job and my supervisor said to me, "You're really good at this. You should go for your master's. You're really good at this. You should go for your master's." So I just looked it up 2 weeks before the UConn deadline. I was like, well, I'm bored. So I'm going to apply to get my master's, and I got in the UConn program. So once I got in, I took that as an opportunity to kind of get deeper into the field and make more money in the field also. So I went to UConn in 2009, graduated 2011. And from there, I was kind of trying to figure out what I liked, what felt comfortable. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the whole time. I enjoyed the whole journey. But it was something that I couldn't continue to do because I was encouraged to, and because I did it well, that I had a lot of encouragement, both from my jobs and my community, to keep pushing forward in it.
Got it. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like you did it, and like because people were kind of pushing you that route, but it wasn't true to what you really wanted.
It's true to my value of community.
Mm-hmm.
It's true to my value of taking care of Black people, helping Black liberation. It's true to those values.
Mm-hmm.
But what wasn't true to my value is the overwork and underpay. Mm. That's one piece that always kind of stuck out to me. I always had a couple jobs. I think my first job, I was making $27,000 and I was $125,000 in debt. So I'm going to work, helping people every day, trying to break this system down. Meanwhile, I can't pay my own bills trying to fight this. Right. I need help from the same system that I'm trying to slay. So it just really felt like this cycle of how do I shift this and still help my community in a different way?
Yeah. I like that. Like, how can you help others you got to help yourself before you can help others type
Right.
of mindset.
Absolutely.
So from there, I remember you had told me you just kind of went full entrepreneurial route.
Yep.
Talk me through that. Like what made you decide to go that route? And then what was that feeling like stepping out on the limb there?
So my last job, I was working at a hospital, and I worked there for about 5 years. And everybody had a private practice. Everybody was seeing clients after work and starting their business. I started my private practice, and after maybe 6 months, I was getting so many calls that I knew I would be full if I quit my job. I was getting so much traction that I was like, I don't really need this job. And it's funny because, so I was working there full time. I had applied to work in a school system because I was like, I get off at 2:30, and then I'm off in the summer so I can really build my practice. Yeah. I was going to take a pay cut, but I was like, this will help me to put myself in a position to where I can start my business full time. And they rejected me. Thank you.
There you go.
If y'all watching this, thank you.
There you go.
So they rejected me. I didn't get the job. And the day I got the call saying I didn't get the job, I knew what I had to do. I gave myself 6 months. And there's a video of me saying, yeah, I watched my moves in 6 months. Yeah. 6 months later, I stepped out on my own. My private practice was full in like a month.
I love it. Like, just to drill in on that a little bit, like that rejection, like just what did that feel like at first? Because like that's the part that most people don't understand about any kind of a journey to success is those rejections, those hurdles that are coming. It's
right.
part of the journey. Like,
right.
You can't escape that. Like, what did that feel like initially, and how did you kind of overcome that and be like, this was meant to happen,
right.
and this is the route I need to go?
I think because of who I was at that time, it took me about 5 minutes in my woe is me. Cause you gotta have the woe is me. You gotta, nobody likes me. You gotta do that, right? Right? Give yourself time to do that. Be dramatic. I'm very dramatic. I might have rolled on the ground and did one of these. It's fine. But the way my mind is set up, I was excited. Y'all don't understand. When I get rejected, I get excited. I've been rejected from jobs. I've been, pushed out of things. I see people get accolades and awards all the time, and they're like, Jelan, why are you not on that list? I don't pay attention to none of that. I get excited. So the answer to your question was, I got real excited, and I got back into my spiritual game of like, Pete, you trying to tell me I don't need to work for nobody. Yeah. So I understand that rejection is real. It's a spiritual experience of you thinking too small. Anyway, yeah. I was going to take a pay cut, y'all. Somebody help me, Jesus. I was going to take a pay cut. For what?
No, I like that because, again, that's literally a mindset. You have to understand that. Well, I believe that when people say that nothing bad happens to you, everything happens for you. Mm-hmm. It's just how we interpret it, right? And again, That's like that thinking small. Where do you think you got that mindset from? Is it something you always had, or is it something you went through that kind of forged that kind of mindset?
I grew up in Brooklyn. We were in Brooklyn till I was 11. And when I was in Brooklyn, I sing, I dance, I act, I do poetry, I do all of these things. So when I was in Brooklyn, I was auditioning for like Broadway plays and stuff. So it was already in my mindset of the rejection is just a part of the game.
Got it.
And when I moved to Manchester, Connecticut in 96, I felt very different and odd and out there and big, and I wore my hair in different ways, and I was different. So just always being different just gave me the relationship with rejection to where I understand that everybody's not going to understand me. I don't need everybody to understand me. So I think my early experience with being different just helped me to understand that rejection, for me personally, will always be a part of my experience.
Got it. No, I mean, that's awesome. So like, it sounds like it's been like a thing your whole life. Like you've always been cognizant of like being different and like not caring what other people think about you being different,
right?
And pushing forward.
And I cared, I cared for a long time in my life. I cared in middle school. I cared in high school. I cared until I was probably like 32. I really I didn't understand why I couldn't be like everybody else. There was always something off about me. But now at 38.
So let's go back. Cause I personally believe like a lot of things that happen to us when we're like young or when we're like children, like that sticks with us forever.
It does.
Like
it does.
We almost try to push it back from mind. Like it doesn't matter. But those things that we experience, like in like middle school, elementary school,
Yep.
maybe a kid saying something to us or us not getting picked on a team
Yep.
can literally affect us for the rest of our lives if we
Does.
don't like actually acknowledge it and then try to find a way to overcome it. Was there certain things that happened when you were younger that like, you know, I'm different, like I'm not accepted and it kind of hurt me?
I don't remember any one thing, but I could tell a story. I got stories for days.
Story time, let's go.
Come on. So
Let's
I
go.
remember, so we was on a bus, right? We were going on a field trip and I was like 5 years old and we were learning about stranger danger. At the same time, we were learning about God. So we're learning he's got the whole world in his hands. We're learning the song.
You learned, this is in school?
This is in school.
Okay, so they don't talk about God anymore in school.
And I was in Brooklyn too. It was a Caribbean school. They were able to beat us and all kind of stuff they don't have. So it was a different kind of environment. So we're learning about God. He's got the whole world in his hands. I'm jamming, right? So I'm like, my turn comes because we're going around and I'm like, he's got the strangers in his hands. They're like, stop. Because we're talking about stranger danger and God at the same time. And in my mind, I'm like, nah, y'all said God love everybody. But now y'all telling me not to say. So in that moment, I understood that the way I see the world is always going to be different from everybody around me. Because if you teach me one thing and you teach me something that's conflicting with that thing, I'm going to bring it up and sing it loud. And that's still what I'm doing now. I bring it up and I sing it loud. So at 5, that's when I started understanding I was different. That's when the teachers responded to me in a way where I was like, I'm literally reflecting back what they taught me.
What did they say to you?
It was like, stop. We stopped the whole song. It wasn't no more singing for the rest of the trip.
You shut down the music on the trip.
I shut it down. No more. We ain't singing no more. And I've been in so many situations in work, in school, where I've said the truth or reflected back what y'all said were y'all's values, and it was a complete shutdown. And when I started to see that be a pattern, that's when I see the world different than the people around me. And instead of being like, woe is me, I see the world different, I'm going to forge my own path and do my own thing and create something different. If you can create something different from your difference, you have a product that nobody else is making. I have a product that nobody else is making right now.
No, that's powerful. No, thanks for going on the little tangent right there. So I guess to bring it back now, so you went the entrepreneurial route. Let's get back there. Like what was that like during the time where you kind of did business on your own and then kind of fast forward to where you are now?
Yeah. So when I did business on my own, when I first got out there, I was seeing a lot of clients. What I noticed about myself was I was still keeping that 9-to-5 mindset. So I had to shift that within myself because what's the point of leaving the job to just recreate something similar in your own life? And another thing I didn't have was good boundaries. I was working on weekends. I was working, late hours, and this hard work mindset was really hardwired into the way that I ran my business, which led to my burnout inevitably because so we're bringing it a little further in 2020 when the pandemic hit, everybody was trying to come in for therapy. Because everybody was right. It was weird. It was a weird time to be alive. So I was just taking people in and I was seeing 8 people a day, 5 days a week. And I was working from home at the time too. So all of that trauma, right? Because that's what therapists do is we listen and understand and help people process their trauma. All of that trauma was coming into my house and it led to a burnout, which I ended up at the ICU. And what I decided after that was I have to figure out a different way how to manage things. And then I had to really say, like, do I want to be in therapy anymore? Yeah. Do I want to be talking about trauma all the time? I'm good at it, yes. But is that something I want to continue to do? And leaving the ICU led to this crazy breakthrough and this shift in my thinking. And then I started to create something brand new.
Awesome. So let's dig in there with like around the burnout. Like what specifically, like what was that moment was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And like talk me through like your mindset.
Right.
And again, with this shift to where you are now.
Yeah. So I want to say something too I struggle with depression and anxiety. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 30. And it was a relief in some ways because I understood I was seeing the symptoms in myself. So when I got diagnosed, it was a relief. So anyway, at that time, my mental health was not doing well. I was drinking more than I ever had in my life. So not only was it a burnout from my work and my business, there was also this storm happening inside of me with my own mental health and my drinking and everything. It's like everything created this big ball of like, I'm doing this with my hands because it was almost alive itself, right? In my house because we're all working from home and it just became, I call it like a cauldron of trauma. Like just think about the witches, like this cauldron of trauma, stirring up every day, talking to people about trauma, living in my own shit. And when I went to the hospital, my organs were shutting down, right? That's what my drinking led me. My organs were shutting down. And I was in the ICU and the nurse looked at me like, you're too young to be here. Like, why are you here? And I believe that I was having a spiritual experience. And what I received from that was, you got to figure out how to shift the business. You can't take on all of this trauma every day. So what I decided in my business was, instead of doing one-to-one, I would go one-to-many. So if I'm seeing one person for 1 hour, I'll see 10 people in 1 hour. I'll see 100 people in 1 hour. So I still get to make the impact in my community. I still get to talk to people about healing. But for that 1 hour, now I have the rest of those hours back to myself to focus on my own healing. So that's why I turned my business from one-to-one psychotherapy into public speaking, workshops, trainings, and that. So I shifted the model of my business.
Almost like scaling, right? Like
Scaling, absolutely.
One-to-one, like, being able to reach more.
Absolutely.
More efficient manner.
Absolutely.
To go back a little bit, you mentioned like the drinking was kind of helped or contributed to that burnout, right? There's obviously other factors there, but I wanted to drill in on that because that's something I think a lot of people don't really identify could be part of issues that they may be dealing with. Could you talk me through like what was your mindset around that? Because I know that's like a common thing. We drink, right? We go out, everything. Like you had a good week, you have a drink. You had a bad week, you have a drink, right?
It's the answer to everything.
You go to a wedding, everything is revolved around having a drink. So what was that like for you?